I'm a California girl, born and raised, so the flip-flop culture is part of just who I am. I love my cutoffs and flip-flops and being as relaxed as can be.
How do you go from Hollywood to Windsor? Just ask Meghan Markle. In the blink of an eye, the former film and television actress became the most talked about woman on the planet when she joined the British royal family in May 2018. Her successful acting career and groundbreaking charity work set her up for the role of a lifetime as the Duchess of Sussex. But it was her warmth, honesty, and flawless style that endeared her to millions.
Women don't need to find a voice. They have a voice, they need to feel empowered to use it, and people need to be encouraged to listen.
Join us as we chart the incredible journey of Rachel Meghan Mounbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle was born in Los Angeles, California on August 4, 1981. Her African-American mother, Doria Ragland, has a master's degree in social work and works as a psychotherapist. Her Caucasian father, Thomas Markle, is an Emmy Award-winning lighting director. When Meghan was just 6 years old, her parents divorced.
There is no doubt that with all of these, when anybody marries into the royal family, the media immediately start looking into the background and the family of that person. I mean, with Meghan, it was quite easy because she'd been very public on social media and on the internet. She'd spoken about her biracial background, the fact that her ancestors were slaves. She'd spoken extensively about her charity work as well. So we had a really quite graphic picture of the type of woman she was, a feminist, somebody who believed in speaking out about her mixed race background. And I think that all of this actually was positive, in my opinion, because it gave the media a platform on which they could base their stories.
Growing up in the Hollywood area of Los Angeles, Meghan attended private schools. Immaculate Heart High School is an all-girl private Catholic school in LA where Meghan spent many of her young years.
The buzz around school was that she was engaged to Prince Harry, and so I went on the announcements. I spoke of the news, and everybody was really excited. And I knew that our school community would be very excited because a few of us have been, following the relationship.
When she was a student here, she was very involved in many different activities. She was here for middle school and high school, and so 7 years of commitment to the school. When we've been here for 112 years, and so we have thousands of alums, and we're very proud of what we hope we have instilled in them, this sense of great heart and right conscience and being able to make a change in the world for the better. She has been an outspoken supporter of women's rights and equity for women, and I think she's going into a situation that will just give her more opportunities to even do much better and more important work.
It's amazing to think that, she's walked our hallways and that someone as successful, as kind, as generous, as giving as Meghan, has really rose up the ranks. And that's extremely inspiring for all of us here, especially at an all-girls school, because she's just the definition of, who we aspire to be.
In 2003, Meghan graduated from Northwestern University near Chicago, earning a bachelor's degree with a double major in theater and international studies. She has said that her interest in theater and the arts began back when her father took her onto the set of Married with Children.
She's
She studied at Northwestern University, which is very prestigious. She's obviously very bright. She interned at the US Embassy in Buenos Aires, and then she got into acting. I think she went back to LA and met a manager who had seen some of her work as a student and thought, she had the potential to go far, and the rest is history.
She's obviously a very determined young woman, somebody who has excelled in her acting profession, has become very successful, has made a good amount of money out of that, but also has thrown a lot of her personality and her finances into good causes. So, her as a person, fantastic, perfect background, clear, perfect match for Prince Harry, particularly with their interest in Africa and beyond. But like with any family, there are a few issues, with her immediate family.
Her first appearance on screen was as an extra in the U.S. soap General Hospital. She continued taking small roles, appearing in Century City, The War at Home, and CSI New York. She even took on the role as Briefcase Girl in the U.S. game show Deal or No Deal.
Meghan, open the case.
Meghan remarked on her difficulty getting acting roles. She said, "I wasn't black enough for the black roles, and I wasn't white enough for the white ones, leaving me somewhere in the middle as the ethnic chameleon who couldn't book a job." Her big break finally came in July 2011 when she landed the role of Rachel Zane in the USA Network show Suits.
Her big break in acting came in the series Suits. She'd appeared as a suitcase girl in Deal or No Deal, and she'd done various other small parts. She appeared in Horrible Bosses, for example. But it's this that's really made her name, playing Rachel Zane.
You know what nobody likes? Nobody likes a show-off.
You use the word ogling.
Part of what I love about her and part of what we get to see this season is her career aspirations really starting to peak and really just following her ambitions outside of the office. So it's great. It's really an empowering season for Rachel. I love playing her. I will say that we're seeing a lot more of Rachel outside of the office, and our personal relationships as a cast that we have, they're really, I think, playing on the show. So we see a lot of Rachel with Donna. It's played by Sarah Rafferty, and our friendship. Interesting stuff also with Louis Litt and Rachel, starting to develop a bit more of a kinship. So it's fun. I mean, we're having a great time. We're only on episode 7 right now, so we got a lot more to go.
It was quite a whirlwind relationship for the unlikely couple.
Harry saw Meghan's photograph on Violet von Westenfeld's Instagram account because Violet does PR for Ralph Lauren, and Meghan was in this country, in England, doing some PR for Suits, and she was wearing Ralph Lauren. He saw the photograph and thought, wow, she's hot. And Violet said, well, would you like to meet her? She's over here.
We were introduced actually by a mutual friend. It was literally, it was through her, and then we met once and then twice back to back, 2 dates in London last July.
Yes.
Beginning of July.
So they met through a mutual friend who set them up really on a blind date, and they had their first date at Soho House in London in 2016. And then, of course, with Meghan living and working at the time in Toronto in Canada, where she was filming Suits, and Harry being based in London, they realised they would have to really go out their way to make time for each other very quickly. So within a few weeks of that first date, they were on holiday together in Botswana.
They were camping under the stars. I don't think it's camping in a way that you and I know it. It's probably a bit more luxurious than that.
They think Meghan and Harry had 2 dates, and then she was going back to Toronto, and he was going off to work in Africa, and he said, meet me in my tent in Africa, and that's what happened. So no time was lost.
From the moment the rumors began, the press hounded the couple at every opportunity. Within days, articles and exposés emerged throughout the world media revealing the personal life of the possible new princess. Meghan was previously married to actor and producer Trevor Engelson. The two met in 2004 and were together for 6 years before they married, although it was not meant to be. and their marriage only lasted for 2 years, and they divorced in August 2013, citing irreconcilable differences.
I think Meghan had quite a difficult initial period after their relationship was confirmed, and we know this because Harry issued a statement defending her and sort of warning people off. She described it as disheartening and discriminatory, but Harry himself mentioned sort of racial undertones, which is pretty upsetting for anyone concerned. And I think, it is a difficult situation when you're thrust into the glare of media interest. The royal family garner a huge amount of attention, and we know that they're not necessarily delighted by it, but they work closely with the media to get their messages across. But I think nothing prepared Harry and Meghan for the wave of interest that followed the announcement of their relationship. And in fact, it was Harry's statement that confirmed they were a couple for the first time. I think it's a really difficult one because they are going to have to get used to the scrutiny, but it's only right that she's treated fairly, and I think it was upsetting for everyone to see that she'd been, caused problems by this coverage.
There's a misconception that because I have worked in the entertainment industry that this would be something I would be familiar with, but even though I'd been on my show for, 6 years at that point, and working before that, I've never been part of tabloid culture. I've never been in pop culture to that degree, and lived a relatively quiet life, even though I focused so much on my job. And so that was a really stark difference out of the gate. But, and I think we were just hit so hard at the beginning with a lot of mistruths that I made the choice to not read anything, positive or negative. It just didn't make sense, and instead we focused all of our energies just on nurturing our relationship.
On us. Yeah.
On us.
But the pursuing press did not stop there, and they began to push the focus onto Meghan's ethnicity. In the days that followed, Prince Harry issued a pointed public statement condemning the disgraceful reporting. Meghan Markle has been subject to a wave of abuse and harassment. Some of this has been very public. The smear on the front page of a national newspaper, the racial undertones of comment pieces, and the outright sexism and racism of social media trolls and web article comments.
Harry reads everything that's written about him and about those in his life, to the point where he actually will talk to you and mention things that you've written about that he doesn't like. He's an avid follower of the press. Yes, of course, that will have driven things that he would have read over the last week about Meghan Markle that he hasn't liked, the racial undertones he's talked about, the outright sexism that's been in some of the coverage. That will have stung him to the heart, and I think that is what's prompted this very unusual statement from him.
Meghan has often discussed how racism has affected her family. Writing for Elle magazine, she said, "Being biracial paints a blurred line that is equal parts staggering and illuminating. While my mixed heritage may have created a gray area surrounding my self-identification, keeping me with a foot on both sides of the fence, I have come to embrace that, to say who I am, to share where I'm from, to voice my pride in being a strong, confident, mixed-race woman." The couple's first appearance together was at the 2016 Invictus Games in Toronto. On September 26th, the couple emerged hand in hand and sat together for a wheelchair tennis match.
Toronto is Meghan's adopted hometown, so they met there, and he decided that it was a good moment, or his press people decided it was a good moment for them to be photographed together. And they were watching a tennis match, and she was wearing a sort of big shirt and ripped jeans. She looked really cool. She can wear what she likes. People have this idea that they can't wear red nail polish and they can't do this and they can't do that, but they can. It's just that when she's on an engagement, she is representing the royal family, therefore she has to dress accordingly.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry finally announced their engagement on November 27th, 2017.
No, we're thrilled, thank you so much, for both of them. I hope they'll be very happy indeed.
Absolutely thrilled. It's brilliant. And as I said, America's loss is our gain.
William and I are absolutely thrilled. It's such exciting news. It's a really happy time for any couple, and we wish them all the best.
My congratulations to Harry and Meghan. I wish them well, hope they have a great time and great fun together. And having met Harry a couple of times, I'm sure they're going to have a great deal of fun together.
They emerged from Kensington Palace in London for a commemorative photograph in the sunken garden before giving their first sit-down interview together as an official couple.
Your Royal Highness Meghan Markle, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Can we start with the proposal and the actual moment of your engagement? When did it happen? How did it happen?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cozy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
Roasting
having...
a chicken. Trying to roast a chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken. And it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic. He got on one knee.
Of course.
Was it an instant yes from you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I could barely let you finish proposing. I was like, can I say yes now?
She didn't even let me finish. She said, can I say yes, can I say yes now? And then there was hugs and I had the ring in my finger and I was like, can I give you the ring? She goes, oh yes, the ring. So no, it was a really nice moment. It was just the two of us and I think I managed to catch her by surprise as well. So.
Yeah.
And this is how long after you first met?
It would be a year and a half, a little bit more than that.
No, just about a year and a half, yeah.
Which for most people would be quite a whirlwind. Is that how it's felt to you?
I don't think that I would call it a whirlwind in terms of our relationship. Obviously, there have been layers attached to how public it has become after we had a good 5-6 months almost with just privacy, which was amazing. But no, I think we were able to really have so much time just to connect, and we never went longer than 2 weeks without seeing each other, even though we were obviously doing a long-distance relationship. So it's we made it work.
Harry and Meghan gave an engagement interview in which he explained, well, actually, she did most of the explaining and she did most of the talking. And she said that Harry had gone down on one knee and she was just roasting a chicken in his cottage on the Kensington Palace complex, because they kind of couldn't go anywhere very much because they were followed by paps everywhere. So they stayed home a lot and she loves cooking. And he went down on one knee and asked her to marry him and she said yes.
The actual day their engagement was announced was just incredible in terms of the excitement it generated. I think most people were expecting something to happen, but still when the news came, it was really quite thrilling, especially for royal watchers like myself. And as they stepped out into the garden, the sunken garden at Kensington Palace, it was so poignant. It was the place that over the summer had been planted with white flowers in memory of Harry's mother, and somewhere that we know she loved to spend a lot of time. And I think there are lots of touches like that about the announcement, and no doubt the wedding as well, which will remind us all of the fact that he's really thinking of her and the fact that she's not going to be there. But it was a really happy moment. Meghan, dazzled the cameras, as she's very good at doing. And just looking at the body language, it was really special to see. They were touching each other. There was a lot of giggling, holding hands, arms. And I think the really lovely moment that came was right at the end of their engagement interview when the microphones were switched off and we saw them sort of mucking about together on the sofa. It really showed a couple who are incredibly in love, very tactile, but, also having a great deal of fun together.
It's been an extremely positive reaction. There's been some negativity, I think, on the internet in terms of the Twitterati, the trolls about Meghan's racial background, but that's just inevitable, I think, in this day and age where people hide behind the social media. But the reality is, in the reaction for Harry and for Meghan has been very positive. I think they've they really clearly look very much in love, and I think everyone's very happy for them. And what's interesting is the American angle on it. Of course, an American actress marrying into the royal family is a huge story for America too.
We're going to have an American princess again. I think that is terrific. And I think Meghan Markle exudes all the good that is in American confidence. She's well-spoken, she's well-educated, and most of all, it appears she's making Prince Harry very, very happy. It's a great gift we're giving to Great Britain. This is her new job. I mean, being a royal isn't just getting married and going and putting on tiaras from time to time. It's a full-time occupation.
Their engagement interview was revelatory. I've never seen a royal interview where people seem so very relaxed, happy in each other's company. and just so affectionate and open. It was fantastic to hear them talking about all sorts of things, and really their happiness and their personalities came across. And it's a far cry from the 80s when we had Prince Charles and then later Diana Spencer looking unfortunately very shy and awkward in front of the cameras, and things were a lot more conservative and straight-laced in those days. So you'd imagine a change, but the dynamic between Harry and Meghan was fantastic to see.
Children?
Not currently, no. No, of course, I think one step at a time, and hopefully we'll start a family in the near future.
Have you met each other's families, I imagine?
Yes, his family's been so welcoming, and
You've met quite a few of them, actually.
I have, on both sides of his family, his mom's side as well, which has been really important to me too. But yes, the family has been great, and over the past year and a half, we've just had a really nice time getting to know them and progressively helping me feel a part of not just the institution, but also part of the family, which has been really, really special.
Trying to track them down and make sure that they're around at the same time that she's popping in without telling too many people. And so we've actually done incredibly well to make sure that you've met all the key people.
The other thing about Harry and Meghan's engagement interview, that they are in a less pressured position. For Kate, when she had to appear with William for the first time in their engagement interview, she wasn't only being announced as his bride, she was being announced as our future queen. And that is quite a daunting prospect for anyone. She hadn't been in front of the cameras before, and I think she acquitted herself incredibly well. But obviously for Meghan, it's something she's very used to. So we can, imagine she's feeling a lot more relaxed generally. And she is with Prince Harry, who's known for his sense of humour and his relaxed approach to things. And that really came across too.
I think it's a really interesting time for the royal family, and I think this marriage sort of cements a transition that's been happening for a while, with the monarchy modernising and moving with the times. If you look back to 30 years ago, even divorce was such a taboo. It's no longer a taboo. Our next king and queen are both divorced. So the fact that Harry is now able to marry someone who's been divorced isn't an issue, is a great thing. She's mixed race. That would have been an issue probably years ago. It isn't anymore. It's great. It means that Harry's wife is going to be much more reflective of society in general than the sort of blue-blooded people who've married into the royal family previously. So I think it's a brilliant thing. But above all of that, they're clearly in love. So that's all the other things are just a bonus in helping to show a much more modern, relevant monarchy.
The first time Harry brought Meghan to a public engagement in the UK was to Nottingham, which some people might think was not the most glamorous start to her life in the royal family, but actually it's a city that Harry's been deeply involved with for many years now. He works with lots of youth projects there, and it's clear that he really wanted her to see the work he's doing on the ground, taking her into estates, that are perhaps a bit more deprived, where the community is really pulling together to help their young people to stop them getting involved in gangs and violence. And I think it's really interesting that he chose that as her first outing. But he's got a great rapport with people from the city, and it was clear she was getting involved straight away. From the moment they opened the car doors, there was screaming and shouting. People in Nottingham love Harry, and they were just so excited to see her. She was dressed in a fairly low-key way, looking very glamorous. It's clear that she's there to get involved and do the work, as well as being this kind of fashion icon, which inevitably is going to happen.
Well, I was up in Nottingham, and I thought that particularly was a very good welcome, her first visit that she's done. I think that she was straight out of the car, not really waiting for Harry, which was probably not the right thing to do. I'm Meghan, how are you? But she was very, very well received. People liked her. She worked the crowd very effectively and very openly and honestly.
After Nottingham, we saw them down in Brixton in a similar sort of situation. They were visiting a local radio station that's working with young people. And it was lovely to see them getting involved, going out, meeting people. And again, the screaming and shouting was off the charts. And I think particularly in Brixton, which has had its issues in the past around race, it was very significant for Meghan to appear there, and I know she, got a lot of praise from the local community, who are very excited about seeing someone who's from a mixed race background appearing as part of the royal family.
I mean, the fact that she was invited to Sandringham for Christmas with the Queen, and that went extremely well. From everybody I've spoken to who was aware of what was going on at the Royal Christmas, apparently she was so well received, and everybody thought she was great. So that, going backwards, you know, it shows that she's been able to adapt very well. I think that at the very start, it must be extremely nerve-wracking, no matter how good an actress or how strong a personality you are, to come in from the outside, to be somebody who's actually having to relocate as well their home to marry the man you love. It must be quite difficult, particularly with all the public interest. But look, she's shone, I think, probably more than anybody, because she's used to the camera and the camera loves her. She's a very beautiful woman. She's been able to cope very well with it all, in my opinion.
What do you think your mother would have thought of Meghan or said about Meghan?
They'd be thick as thieves, without question. I think she would be over the moon, jumping up and down, you know, so excited for me. But then, as I said, would have probably been best friends with Meghan. So no, it is days like today when I really miss having her around and miss being able to share the happy news. But you know, with the ring and with everything else that's going on, I'm sure she's with us. I'm sure she's with us. Yeah, you know, jumping up and down somewhere else.
The platform for change that comes with royalty cannot be understated. Each member of the royal family valiantly patrons several charities, and the work they do is crucial in shining a spotlight on the ailments of society. Meghan will join the royal family with a long history of charity work under her belt. At age 11, Meghan garnered national attention in the States when she was angered by sexism in TV commercials and became publicly active in promoting equality. 20 years on, she would make a powerful speech to the UN in her capacity as women's advocate for participation and leadership, in which she declared, "I am proud to be a woman and a feminist."
Women need a seat at the table. They need an invitation to be seated there. And in some cases, where this isn't available, well, then you know what? Then they need to create their own table. I've been working on my show for 7 years. So we were very, very fortunate to be able to have that sort of longevity on a series. And for me, once we hit the 100-episode marker, I thought, you know what? I have ticked this box, and I feel really proud of the work I've done there. And now it's time to, as you said, work as a team with you. Yeah.
But do you have that sense of responsibility, Prince Harry, for what you're asking Meghan to do?
Of course, that sense of responsibility was essentially from day one, or maybe a couple of months in, when I suddenly realised, actually, this is, you know, I know that I'm in love with this girl, and I hope that she's in love with me. But we still had to sit down on the sofa, and I still had to have some pretty, you know, frank conversations with her to say, look, you know, what you're letting yourself in for is, it's a big deal, and it's, you know, it's not easy for anybody. But I know that, you know, at the end of the day, she chooses me, and I choose her, and therefore, you know, whatever we have to tackle together or individually will always be us together as a team. So I think she's capable
so
of...
nicely said, isn't it?
I don't know. She's capable of anything.
Even in the short space of 6 months between the announcement of her engagement and her wedding day, Meghan wasted no time and began fully engaging with charitable causes in the UK and the Commonwealth. One of her first big roles was supporting Prince Harry and her soon-to-be in-laws, Prince William and Princess Catherine, in their mental health awareness campaign, Heads Together.
You touched on it before. It's well known, you've championed the empowerment of women and young girls and promoting their self-worth. How do you hope to continue that work with the Royal Foundation?
Yes, I mean, I think that knowing that I've just been here for 3 months, right? And in that amount of time, but with that said, for me, it's very important to, once you hit the ground running, even if you're doing it quietly behind the scenes, which is what I've focused my energy on thus far, is meeting with the right people, meeting with the right organizations behind the scenes quietly, learning as much as I can so that I can maximize the opportunity we have here to really make an impact. I think What's interesting is I hear a lot of people saying when speaking about girls' empowerment, finding and knowing their worth, or women's empowerment as well, you'll often hear people say, well, you're helping women find their voices. And I fundamentally disagree with that, because women don't need to find a voice. They have a voice, they need to feel empowered to use it, and people need to be encouraged to listen. And I think right now in the climate that we're seeing with so many campaigns, I mean, with Me Too and Time's Up, there is no better time than to really continue to shine a light on women feeling empowered and people really helping to support them, men included in that. I mean, it makes such a tremendous difference. So, yeah, just, I guess we wait a couple months and then we can hit the ground running. But up until then, I'm pretty excited.
But like you said, I mean, you've been here for 3 yeah, wedding first. Get that done.
We
but
can multitask.
Having said that, you have been quietly, like you say, behind the scenes, let's just say laying the foundations for your future work. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sadly, I can't.
Oh.
But I will say, you know, if we know how, and I certainly know how passionate I am, and Harry and I see the world so similarly in our approach of being very hands-on with things. What I can say is that I have been fortunate enough to meet with some incredible women and organizations in general in the UK that are doing work here, but then also knowing that some of the work that I've done in the past has been in Commonwealth countries like Rwanda, India. So this reach, I think, can have some really nice legs to it once we can start. But
After
I guess,
May.
Yes, exactly. To be continued.
I look forward to picking up on that conversation
Yeah, me too.
later.
Thank you.
All the work you do together is great, but working together as family, do you ever have disagreements about things?
Oh, yes.
Healthy disagreement.
Okay, the last thing you disagreed on, how do you resolve it?
I can't remember. They come so thick and fast. But
Is it resolved? We don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
On May 19th, 2018, the eyes of the world were on the small English town of Windsor, as the fairy tale wedding of Meghan and Harry captured the hearts and imaginations of millions.
Now, Windsor Castle is what the Queen regards as home in London. It's 29 miles out of London. It's in a beautiful, scenic town, very old town, and it's where she has her horses. It's where she can be private. Buckingham Palace is a wonderful, wonderful building, but that's sort of thought of as the office. That's where lots of staff come. That's where she can meet ambassadors. That's where she can deal with all the things she has to. But Windsor is home.
They wanted Windsor for a number of reasons. First of all, it's a more intimate venue than Westminster Abbey, and I think, you know, Harry not being directly in the direct line of succession, he didn't want a big state do, and nor did Meghan. It has enough guests to allow them to have lots of people there, but make it feel a little bit more intimate. Also, it's a place that's very close to the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. They're in residence at Windsor at the moment, so it's easier for them to get to. They're in their 90s. Prince Philip has just had a hip operation, so again, that helps. And also, it's a place that we know that's become very special to them. They've spent time at Windsor together when they were going out before they got engaged. We know they spent time at Windsor Castle and at Frogmore. So all of those things, I think it was a very personal choice.
The ceremony is being held at St. George's Chapel, which is part of Windsor Castle, and it's in the old crenellated walls. What's interesting about the chapel is it's beautiful. It's not huge. I think about 600 people can fit in, which is nothing like Westminster Abbey, which is 3 times the size.
Arches of beautiful white peonies and roses, and it was all sourced from the Queen's gardens, the royal gardens.
Every detail has been carefully considered by Meghan and Harry, and by all reports, they have been involved in every single decision. Even their invited guests, you know, they invited 1,200 members of the public, people who were war heroes, people on charity boards. They invited them personally to come and watch the wedding. Meghan and Harry provided gift bags for them. They have fruit and drinks for a little reception for them. They've tried very hard to be as inclusive as they possibly can.
Well, there was great excitement when William and Harry arrived, and they walked down very sort of casually from the castle down to the chapel, and they were wearing their dress uniform. Everyone loved Doria, and she looked wonderful because she still had her dreadlocks and her nose ring. So she was saying, "I'm not changing for anyone," but she looked very elegant in a sort of pistachio Oscar de la Renta coat and a little Stephen Jones hat.
Speculation was rife for months leading up to the event as the media scurried for each and every detail. When Meghan emerged on the day, she took the whole world's breath away.
I think everybody was stunned when Meghan got out of the Queen's Phantom Rolls Royce. I mean, she was in this virginal white dress with a beautiful train, and on the train were embroidered the emblems of the Commonwealth, because that's going to be her area of work. And she had, obviously, her borrowed thing was the tiara, which was beautiful, beautiful bandeau tiara from the Queen's collection.
There's always a tremendous amount of speculation as to what designer the bride will wear. Going into this, the strong favorite was Ralph and Russo. In fact, it was widely reported Meghan would be wearing Ralph and Russo. And then, just yesterday, there was a very strong buzz that it was going to be Stella McCartney. So you can imagine everyone was completely taken off guard this morning when she emerged in a stunning dress by a British designer called Claire Waite Keller, who happens to be the first British artistic director of Givenchy. So she's wearing a Givenchy dress designed by a Brit. Meghan was always going to wear a British designer today. She has virtually no choice, but she chose an extremely classic, simple, and elegant design.
I met with Meghan late last year, and so we had an initial meeting, and then I found out in early January. Oh, it was an extraordinary moment when she told me, of course, it's incredible thing to be part of such a historic moment, and the fact that also the opportunity to work with her. It was very collaborative. I think she had very much seen my work and knew what I did. I think she loved the fact that I was a British designer and working in a house such as Givenchy, which has got its roots in a very classical, beautiful style, of course, from the time of Hubert himself. So it was a wonderful way to kind of start the collaboration with her, just talking about that and also finding what she really wanted for her day and just to find the absolute perfect style for her. It's a process to actually work on a dress such as this, and part of it was really conversations at the beginning, and then through a series of sketches that I proposed to her, and we exchanged conversations about what would be the ultimate sort of lines and proportions and the scale of the dress. But over time, we quickly got to a point where I know she felt really that she knew exactly what she wanted, having tried some toiles and some of the mock-ups that I'd shown her, and then it evolved into the final design. Oh, she's exactly what you see on TV. She's just so genuine and warm and radiant. She's just glowing, and she's a strong woman. She knows what she wants, and it was really an absolute joy working with her. And I came up with the idea of maybe representing each of the countries, the 53 countries of the Commonwealth, through their flora and fauna. And we both love the story of that. And it also meant that every single one of those countries also journeyed up the aisle with her, which I thought was a really poetic moment. Even the little 3D flowers here, which are done in organza and just lift gently off the veil. And then some of the flora, so you have some of the orchids from some of the Asian countries. And here's just some of the more wild flowers that would be in the veil and how they were represented in the scale.
She was very happy. It was a beautiful morning, just the perfect morning when going to get married. It's pretty amazing. It's really hard to describe. I think it's going to hit me a little more tomorrow when I get home. But it's surreal. Yeah, it's definitely surreal. It's something that, we all could dream of. And when the dream comes, and it's become reality and it's actually almost better than the dream itself, then it's a home run. I'm not able, I guess. And I just always loved her style. I just loved the way that easiness about her and that smile that she has. So there's just something that just, calls you in some ways that way. So you always want to work with people that you feel that you might get along with and that just might be a good partnership on that level.
Meghan walked out of the car all alone. This is something we don't see very often. Royal brides are always accompanied by their father. She looked very independent, very solitary, and very nervous to be honest. But as she got to the end of the aisle and began to walk down, you could see her confidence, her natural grace coming through.
Meghan made her entrance to a fanfare of trumpets, which are very emotional and evocative. And the little page behind her just went, ah, like that. And so she made her entrance to this beautiful music sung by a Welsh soprano. And the sunlight was streaming through the medieval glass window, and it couldn't have been more beautiful. The thing that struck me about the ceremony was it looked to me as if they were the only two people there. I mean, they just looked into each other's eyes and the rest of the world wasn't there. And Meghan smiled her wonderful Hollywood smile, and she kept smiling. And then Harry lifted back her veil, which I'd not seen at a royal wedding before, and it was very romantic.
When Meghan and Harry were pronounced man and wife, there was an uproarious cheer from outside that they could hear themselves, and they brought huge grins to both of their faces. Meghan and Harry very much felt the support of the great British public throughout the day because they could hear them very close, just outside the castle walls. And it was wonderful to see them react to what they could hear were cheers of joy and support. When Meghan and Harry emerged from the church, we had a beautiful shot of them framed by gorgeous bouquets of flowers, and then, of course, a very touching and romantic kiss, which we knew was coming, but it was nonetheless romantic and spontaneous when it happened. When Meghan and Harry took their very first carriage ride as husband and wife, they chose the Ascot carriage. Now, of all the carriages in the Queen's Mews, the Ascot carriage is the highest off the ground. They very intentionally chose this so that the most people could see them as a couple. Of course, it's an open carriage, very high up, and they were able to be easily viewed by all the many people who had waited hours and hours and days to get a look at this very happy new couple. Well, as an American, I can say that we don't have princesses. For us, it's a Disney fairy tale. It's something that we admire, but we don't quite have. So for Americans, today's been a very magical day. There are as many Americans here nearly as there are Brits. Certainly in terms of television reporters, we've seen 300 people alone from NBC in America have come out to cover this wedding because Americans feel like we finally got our own princess. And not only that, the fact that she's biracial has been tremendously powerful for young girls who have yet to see a princess that looks like them. This has been an amazing day from that perspective. From the British side, Brits I know are not typically overly patriotic, but today has been a day of unreserved joy and affection.
The reception was held in St George's Hall, which is where they have state banquets. And it's part of the staterooms of Windsor Castle, so you can see it. And it's beautiful beamed hall, huge. But it was a standing reception because 600 people you can't seat 600 people in there. The evening event was at Frogmore House, which is part of the Windsor Castle estate. And it's a beautiful house with a great big lake. And I think they were all outside having drinks to start with. And then they had, they had tables of 10, that's what they normally do. And the tables were named after Harry and Meghan's favourite places, like in Botswana, and so everything was slightly themed. And then it sounded like they really did party. And James Corden was dressed as Henry VIII. Can you believe it? And he acted as sort of unofficial compere, and somebody else was a DJ, and they had a lot of 60s soul music, and then it got really, like sort of hip-hop later.
As a wedding present from Her Majesty the Queen, Harry and Meghan became the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Meghan Markle, now Rachel Meghan Mounbatten-Windsor, was gifted her own coat of arms in accordance with tradition. The right half of the shield is filled with nods to Meghan's home state of California. The shield's blue background represents the Pacific Ocean, while its two golden rays represent California sunshine. Golden poppies, California's state flower, are also dotted across the grass at the shield's base. Quills printed on the shield are meant to represent communication and the power of words, two things close to Meghan's heart. Her arms are placed on the shield alongside Prince Harry's to symbolize their new union.
Together, as I said, there's a hell of a lot of stuff and work that needs doing. At the moment, for us, it's going to be making sure that our relationship is always put first. But no, look, both of us have passions for wanting to make change for good. And with lots of young people running around the Commonwealth, that's where we're going to spend most of our time, hopefully.
And it was really one of the first things we connected on. It was one of the first things we started talking about when we met, was just the different things that we wanted to do in the world and how passionate we were about seeing change. I think that was, that's what got date 2 in the books, probably.
Plenty to talk about.
What is interesting about Harry and Meghan is she is an activist. She's been an activist before she met him. She spoke about feminism and gender equality in the United Nations. She cares about LGBT causes. She cares about Africa. She went to Africa to help get water to somewhere. So the Commonwealth is a natural interest for both of them, and we have a Commonwealth, Britain. Even though they're not part of the old British Empire, they voluntarily say they want to stay in the Commonwealth, and they have interaction with one another, and the Queen is their very head of state, and they like that, they choose that. So they have both said that they want to help with the Commonwealth. Harry went on a fantastically successful trip to Jamaica before he met Meghan. And I think that would play into the fact that she is of mixed race, as so much of the Commonwealth is. And also, they want to change the world, these two. And I think having youth, having vigor, having excitement behind them, they will be in a very good position to change and help make the world a better place.
I think the new royals are setting a very clear message by the fact that they're not going on honeymoon, they're not jetting off to Mustique, they're going straight to work, back to kind of humanitarian interests that really joined them together in the first place. You know, Meghan and Harry have said from the beginning, in addition to the obvious mutual attraction, what united them was a common interest and passion for doing good. And the fact that as a couple, they're not even jetting off to the Maldives like William and Kate or anybody else. They're going straight to work, back out there, trying to help people. This is going to set the tone, I think, of their entire relationship.
We've seen Harry and Meghan out and about doing lots of engagements together for certain charities. Street Games is one, community-based a sports project for young people that Harry's been very involved with, that Meghan has thrown her support behind. Also, we've seen them out and about at engagements that look at female empowerment and gender equality, which is something that Meghan's very keen on. We know when she gets married, she will join the Royal Foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry. She will become the 4th patron of that. And then together we'll see them, you know, doing a lot more engagements together around those core issues that that foundation supports, which is conservation, supporting young people and the armed forces. After they get married, we're also going to see them embark on a lot of overseas travel. We know that just last month, the Queen made Harry a Commonwealth Youth Ambassador. And that means he's going to be doing a lot of work to support young people across the Commonwealth and also in the UK. So we know that in October, they'll be in Australia for the Invictus Games. That tour will almost certainly be widened out to possibly New Zealand, maybe some South Pacific islands too in the Commonwealth. So they are really going to be seen as a sort of young, glamorous royal power couple doing a lot of philanthropic and charity work and also boosting, you know, the monarchy's standing and the causes that the monarchy supports, things like the Commonwealth that are very close to the monarchy's heart.
So their first marital home is going to be Nottingham Cottage in Kensington Palace. It's where William and Kate first lived when they married. And it was actually Harry's bachelor pad for a while. It's a 2-bedroom cottage, which sounds quite modest, but obviously it is in the grounds of this spectacular palace. But we know that there are lots of renovations going on within the complex, and the apartment next door to William and Kate is actually being tipped as their future home. It's a 21-room apartment, currently houses the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. But we know renovations are taking place, and I would be quite surprised if at some point they don't move into a bigger place. They're going to need the room, I think. Well, Harry's always talked about wanting kids. I mean, a couple of years ago in New Zealand, he told a few of us, you know, of course I'd love to have children right now, but he hadn't found the right person at this stage. And we know Meghan's probably at a stage in her life where she's ready to be a mum, and they both have a great connection with young people, as we've seen on their visits to Cardiff recently. You know, getting down, playing with them, hugging them. There was a lovely group hug moment for Meghan. You know, I think she's going to be a fantastic mum, judging from the outside. They've said, you know, watch this space. I would not expect them to take too long before starting a family.
Harry loves kids, and he's brilliant with them because he's a bit of a kid himself. Loves kids, loves animals, loves playing silly games with them. I mean, that's Harry. Harry is Harry, you know, he's such a free spirit. I think he'll be longing to have a family. But I feel that he is so in love with Meghan that she can really help him. I think when he came out of the army, he was quite lonely because, you know, William and Kate were there, but you know, they were all sort of happy families. And I think Harry was desperate to get married. And he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a very emotional person. And I think that they are a very good match because I think Meghan's a bit tougher than Harry. And I think she will, you know, there will be a very good team together.
Meghan Markle's journey from Hollywood to Windsor is an incredible and unlikely one, almost like a page right out of a fairy tale. But this princess didn't need a fairy godmother. She found her own happily ever after.